Well, it is that time again, everybody. How you are doing? Well, my name is Bird Dog John, and I am back in action.
In those scenarios,
Yep.
it's good to neuralize the cameras. You guys know that best.
Very straightforward. Plug it in, go to the web UI, link the source, walk away. Like super simple. I keep looking over at the chat, and I keep seeing you are full of it. Tasty, spicy meat snacks. Covered in flavor. I mean, you can't go wrong. So what's going on? We've got a handful of folks here in the chat, and I really appreciate that. What's up, mate? Hey, Warren, how are you? Appreciate it. Hey, Robbie, how's it going, man? You're just talking about you. What's going on, Tom? Ahoy. How is it going? What's going on, GoWeb? Good to see you again. Thanks for hanging out with us again today. Appreciate that. Feel like I'm in this video more than anyone but John. It's true, NetApp. You are, I'm going to cut this up and put this in the next intro. What's going on, everybody? I am indeed Bird Dog John. Let's get her going. Back at it for another fantastic hour of I don't know what we're calling this anymore these days. Sounds like my audio is a little bit lower than the video, so I'm just gonna do this, and you guys tell me it's about 4 additional dB in gain. So let's just see what we got here. Let's see how that goes. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you guys tell me what you think. It's fine. Good golly. So my cameras, we must have had a power cycle here yesterday because my P200 was underexposed, and now my P110 is overexposed. Oh, whoops. And I need to change this to low bandwidth. There we go. So we're going to go over how do we get to change the exposure on a P110? Well, let's have a little look-see. This is that P110, and this is that web UI. So let's go there, see if I can't get you guys over there. So here's that web UI for that P110 that you were just looking at. A little overexposed this morning. So let's, massive sneeze out in the lobby. All right, so let's go down to cam control on the web UI, and we're going to go to exposure, and 1/30. I believe this is putting out 30 right now, and so don't have a ton of options. I'd like to, let's go back to this camera real quick. A little overexposed, so let's go to 60. No, not 90. Let's go to 60, and if we compare that with the P200, okay, you can definitely see the difference in lenses there. But let's just come back a little bit on the f-stop. Wow, actually, okay. And then let's see if we can't. Oh, little over sharpened. It looks like. Yeah. Noise reduction, that's fine. Saturation, hue, contrast. It's up pretty high. I mean, I guess to try, like you're trying to match this, right? Which is over contrasty. And so there's not a whole lot you can do if you're maxed out. If you're operating in the extremes, that's always an issue. No thanks. No thanks. Doesn't look great though, eh? So like if we bring the saturation down, yikes, this shot, it looks rough sauce. What is going on here? Okay, so let's do ourselves a favor here and start over because something's up. Not entirely sure if I have this on like oh, that's not so. Okay, that's not terrible. I don't know if I have this on experimental. Whoa, firmware or not. Who knows? So let's get me kind of lined up here. I like that a little bit better. Whoa, it's like one click is quite the yeah, it's quite the change. So let's all right, so P100 or P200, P110. That's okay. That's tolerable as far as I'm concerned. Randy says, "Hey, it sounds good on my phone." Hey, Randy, how are you? Let's see here, Mr. Nesbitt. He says, "Good morning, John. I finally got my hands on a P240. Excellent. For my testing in my environment. Any tutorials on how to use the Tally Light while using Streamlabs OBS?" Okay, so the thing about Bird Dog is we're all in on NDI, which means that you need to be sending the tally information over the NDI metadata. Now, to my knowledge, Streamlabs doesn't do this internally. And so if we were to perhaps go over to the birddog.tv/API, what you can do is you can program it to have a tally button. Let me look at the actual RESTful API. And, well, there's an interesting idea. Let's go ahead and open our trusty, dusty, faithful companion. Let's see what we can do about that. I don't know if that's been integrated or not. I don't think so, but let's have a little look. Let's see what we can do over here. So this is Companion. There's a new version of it available, so maybe we'll update one of these days. But inside here, if we go to Connections and we pick like P200, okay, so I've already got that. Now you said 240. So this may not be ubiquitous. I don't know. But if we select a button, you can either do the presets. Let's see what we have here. Scope, dashboard, Visca actions, camera on, standby. Okay, no good there. Audio, encode setup, tally mode, tally off. Okay, cool. So, oh, is this to turn on the... toggle P200. Oh, interesting. Is that to toggle the tally button on the web UI on and off? Because that would only then... nope, that turns on the tally light. Oh, you know what, though? That's my primary camera. So if I cut this over to something else... Oh, no, I'm in that shot too. There. Yeah, okay. So that is program preview out of vMix is what I'm seeing there. That's kind of nice, actually. And it also... Well, anyways, boy, that's a little confusing. Okay, so what that is this is turning the tally mode on and off, and then vMix is sending the tally commands. So that's not trigger tally is what you're getting at here. So let's see what else we have. Because there is an actual API command, I believe, that you can manually turn the tally on and off. So what is this? Discovery server on-off toggle? Why would you need that? Cam control. Okay, none of this. Advanced setup. No. Okay, so they have just taken... all, and I say they because BirdDog did not make this, by the way. Ooh, status active? What does that mean? Can I see this? If I cut over, does it change? Doesn't appear to change anything there. All right. And then we're going to clear this. And let me just pull up the RESTful API, and I want to go down to the... So the only way I think you can do it is to trigger it manually over an API command. I don't think that there's a way to do it otherwise, because we're all in on NDI, and so that means that you have to... Why isn't there a search option on this page? That's annoying. Operational modes. No. API methods, NDI encodes, decodes, finder, PTZ, setup posts. Do we have a... Nope, nothing there. Advanced setting, external settings, posts. What do we got here? External settings. This is for products that have a rain wiper, an auxiliary... Rain wiper auxiliary, crispening. All right, well, I'm just going to do find tally. All right, there are 36 references in the API about tally mode. Loop tally, tally mode. Nothing there. This is just that button, basically, tally mode. It's not telling you how to manually trigger to the tally light. Okay, and I've been through them all. So it's not in the API menu, so I'll need to look and see if our guys have any internal conversations about how to do that. I thought there was a way because that's been a regularly asked question. But that, yeah, that might be something I need to investigate. Make sure that I know what the situation is here. Okay. What's going on, Brayton? Good morning. Hey, morning. I might be able to pop in for a bit later on. Okay, I guess. Well, we'll see if we're still going later on. Thanks for checking in now. Appreciate that. Okay, that sounds pretty good. So good times there. Ooh, and I should also put this up there because this is active, which is the heat map information, which some of you have already evidently figured out is up there. So heat map is live. If you want to put a pin, scan that QR code and come on over. It'll ask you 2 questions. What country and what city are you closest to? And if you answer those 2 and hit submit, your pin should appear on my heat map. So good times. Good times, great oldies. All right, but for the moment, it appears that Companion cannot trigger the tally individually. I was kind of hoping it would be able, just like a preset that you could just send it. But this is all the options that are on the web UI. They're all basically all listed here. So scope, where do you want to, yeah. There doesn't appear to be, they haven't figured that out. Now there's a newer version of, new stable version of Companion, which I have not updated to. So I may need to do that after the show. And who knows? I will check with my guys, though, and see what they say. I seem to recall that was an option, but we'll see. All right, back to the show here. See what we can do here. Okay, so we've been going through past couple of days. Oh, and there is definite snacks on stream. Oh, but I need to clean up that camera because I know it's looking at the wall. There is snacks on stream today, but we're going to do a dual snacks on stream, mostly because they both Brayton and Balu dropped off stuff, and one of Balu just came back from a trip overseas. He was over in Japan and a few other places, and so he had brought a whole bunch of stuff back that was really cool. But then he had put something in the mystery box last week, and I didn't know it. And so I'm like a week behind. So I need to do that. And then Brayton, who's in the chat, went to this market that's called Carnival Market here in Pontiac. And it's basically like a really authentic Mexican-style restaurant and grocery store. And so he got kind of walking around, and I guess he picked up something to try on Snacks on Stream. So we have a mystery box. Let's go this one, I believe. So yeah, we have a mystery box. And then we have these smoky ghost pepper puffs. And I haven't seen these in Michigan, United States. And something Brayton had said, you should check that where they package them. And so this says trademark of Frito-Lay Incorporated, Plano, Texas. But where do they package them? That would be the next question. But anyways, I'm excited about this because these seem spicy, and I have no idea what's in here. And so we're about to find out. And like I said, Balu just came back from like a international trip, so we're gonna find out what's going on. Anyway, so we got some snacks on stream that we'll do a little later. But we have been talking about microphones in a couple of lights, because one is for like interview style and how do you do it? How do you mount that, so that it's out of the way or it's not super obvious or whatever. And so I've even got a couple of different mounting options. And then when I was at home, I realized that I've been talking about these like Ursa strips, right? So this is Ursa tape, and it's a what do they call it? Hypoallergenic or whatever like that. So it's like safe for skin. I've noticed that when I offer this to people that are on stage, they I can't put tape on my skin. And you think like, really? It's just a little adhesive, and it's specifically made for. So this is hypoallergenic sticky strips. They're two-sided, and you can kind of like cut them and customize them to whatever size you want. So I bought a bunch of these a little while back. The first one that I've kind of been using here, that I've been holding up here on the show, has been the soft strips, the Ursa tape soft strips, and they're basically like, it says like moleskin or something. What does it say? Yeah. Stretchy 30 strips of stretchy moleskin using hypoallergenic sticky tape. They're just basically like a little felt pad essentially, but one side is sticky and the other side has like a little piece of fabric to kind of help with rustles, like the rustling of your shirt. The what I notice is that it works okay, but this is actually really great for taping to the inside of a white shirt. So if you were, for example, to take this microphone I have here, and what I would do with it is I would tape it lengthwise like this down the strip, right? And like stretch the moleskin around it. And then I would take that and I would tape that to the inside flap of somebody's button-down shirt. And you can make it short so it sits between the buttons, obviously. But you could have a sticky mount then that could fit and be tucked under a shirt. So you have kind of a natural windscreen from the air coming out of your nose, but also you could position it basically then right in the center of your subject, which gives a much a better rounded sound than a microphone that is clipped, kind of probably usually clipped a little bit higher. And also, like Countrymen are great. They're obviously in a different position where they're right in front of the mouth, but you actually get a lot of the resonance that's coming off of your subject's face, especially if you have a male speaker who has a lower register. If you position a lav mic on their right, like in the middle of their chest, basically, then you get a fuller sound of their voice. And so that's super helpful. So something like this would then stop the rustling sound between the shirt flaps, but it would provide the tape to do that. So that is the Ursa tape soft strips, and they've been all right. Not amazing, but they're pretty good. These are just straight up like hypoallergenic tape, and so there's no moleskin on these. It's just a double-sided sticky tape that you can do the same thing with, where you can tape the microphone kind of like underneath it and then stick it to the shirt, and then the shirt acts as the windscreen, but it keeps it fairly it keeps it protected. It doesn't help necessarily because it's double-sided sticky tape, so I feel like that's not as a practical use, but you can also use these then on those little circles that I use on this lav mic regularly. So you could cut this, for example, there's a little like divider right there. So you could cut it in half, stick your microphone to the front of that, and then take your cover and stick that on top of it, and then take that sticky piece and peel off the back and then mount that. And then that way it would have the natural windscreen that would help with the rustling of the clothes, but also then have a really strong adhesive on the back of it. And excuse me. And then those wind circles are actually here. They come with their own tape, but I actually would prefer the longer tape, the longer strips, mostly because these are just little sticky circles. And I don't want to have to buy like a bajillion of these little tiny things. These are basically the same price as these, and you can cut these in half. And this is a pack of 60. So I don't want to buy the little circles, so I don't do that. But then they give you 30, I believe, 10 in each bag of those little fur circles that you can reuse if you're careful with them. Or if they get damaged, you just get another one. It's not the end of the world. So I might actually do that here and might see how that works. And so, of course, my knife is downstairs. And so, do I have a blade up here anywhere? I guess not. No, I don't. Okay. Well, I will sacrifice one whole strip for this project. All right, so I'm going to take the front protective cover off. I'm going to lay this microphone right down the middle, like this, and try and get it to sit fairly flat. Okay, so we're good there. And then I am going to take my little cover and put it over the capsule and just squash it down. So now it's fully protected. There's not a whole lot that's going to happen to that mic. And then we can take the other side off, or we can take the back sticky tape off. Man, I really wish I could cut this. I was working downstairs this morning and I left my knife downstairs. And I don't have a knife in that bag because I just got off an airplane. So I'm going to rip it and see what I can do. This may not be the ideal ripping it. Okay, there we go. So now I've got that like kind of sticky front. And then if I were to peel the back of that off, and how does that peel off, I wonder? It leaves you basically with like a very thin film, essentially, that you can use. There we go. All right, so now, I don't know if you can see that very well, but yeah, there's that like piece of tape, essentially. And so now it's just a matter of like mounting this to your body. So let me see if I can do that discreetly. But somewhere mid-chest, I guess. Somewhere close to that. And then you'd run your wire. You'd probably run this first before you mounted it to your talent, if you would. All right. And then pull that. Jeez, that's cold. All right, pull that through. Yoink. And you can loop it so it doesn't pull on their skin too much, but it is mounted like directly on me now. Now I'm wearing a really thick shirt here, so I have no idea what this is going to sound like. And this is my little Rode transmitter. So I'd power that on. Okay. And I have my microphone plugged in. Now I'm going to go over to my Rode microphone, and let's I need to check the receiver, so we'll do that next. Power that on, and I'll be right back. Okay, I had to move my rig, and so of course my camera's off now. Because the receiver is under that camera, essentially. So let's go, and I've got my transmitter on, my receiver on. I'm going to go over to vMix and see if we're picking up signal. We are. And now I am on that Rode wireless mic, which is definitely a different sound, that's for sure. Let's get my phone and listen to that real quick. Yoink. All right. So I'm going to go back in the stream because the receiver is under that camera. Is it? And now I am on that Rode wire. Okay, so it's a fairly big difference, obviously, between the two, but the mounting option is way more subtle. So we're able to, I'm going to take this out of my ear. So I'm able to like remove most everything out of the frame and mount it underneath my clothing, essentially, and then operate like a real deal. So I love the fact that it's out of the way. I don't care, obviously, for the image quality that it brings, and I know that it's not preferred given the options that I have around here. But this little tape stuff, I mean, it's fairly inexpensive for what it is and for how much you get. If you were doing productions daily, it would be a little bit different, but just the straight up, my favorite combination so far is this tape. Okay, so it's a little half piece of tape like this with one of these little fur circles sandwiching that microphone and then sticking it directly to the talent. And that seems to be like the most, the quickest and most efficient way. Of course, it matters who your talent is. So some people, guests, they may not be comfortable with that. If this is you yourself, you can manage that. If you're in a bit of a production, hang on. Okay. Okay. My RE20 shows muted, and I didn't change it on companion, but I was just making sure that the Rode was still going out. So yeah, if you're in production and that's your job, then you need to prep your people to be ready for that sort of experience when they come, and you can just tell them flat out, hey, we're going to be doing like real recordings with you, and we plan to mic you correctly. It'll be an on the body mic, so be ready for that. It won't be a alligator clip. It'll probably be tape. Are you okay with that? If you're not, we have to talk about alternatives, like tell people up front what to expect. But there are a lot of videos out there. Sorry, Studio-P100. I noticed my P100 is overexposed today. Again, power cycle. But if that's like how you make your money, or you're doing a production or whatever, then, or a full-on interview, then that's probably what you need to prep your talent to be prepared for. And honestly, I don't notice it. When you notice it is when you put it on and then when you take it off, right? But you don't notice it while you're using it. So let me go over to this shot real quick so I can see. And see, it's just like wicked overexposed. So let's close that down a bit. There we go. That's so much better. All right, perfect. I just want to change that up before we did Snacks on Stream. All right. I think we're good. So we should. I think we all know who the talent really is, though. The techs. we can only tell ourselves that because no one else believes it. Yeah, for sure. But that's the thing is like, so the people that come to present are the ones that are bringing the content, right? You're the one that's responsible for getting that content recorded and sent out. And so when, especially people who present a lot, they get really comfortable with the way that they do things. The issue is that as audiences get bigger, as messages get bigger, more important things, you want the technology to be less obstructive. And so if you have a keynote that really likes to hold a handheld, that's great, if it's a small group of 20, 30 people, maybe it's not a big deal because if the microphone's out of position or he's not using it correctly, they're still going to pretty much be able to hear him. But if you have 100 people or 150 or 500 people or more, you're really going to want to take control of guaranteeing that his message is going to get out. The problem is that people get used to, very much so, they get used to a certain way of operating, right? They like to have the security of their favorite style of microphone, or they don't want to stand on stage, they want to sit, or they don't necessarily want to change the way they do things. But the goal is to have a vision for what it is that you're trying to do, and then buy the tools necessary to work that vision. Going the other way, where it's like, well, I have a SM7B, we should use that and start a podcast. It's like, well, first go the other way. Like, what sort of content are you trying to create? And then let's find the appropriate pieces for it. And that works for cameras and microphones and all that sort of, different avenues that you have to think about when you're making something like that. But there is very much so, I think, an expectation, especially as you start getting bigger and more professional and you start reaching more audiences. I think that the idea is that you hire people or you put people in positions that can help you get to that next level. And then you trust them to make the decisions to guarantee the outcomes that you're wanting. One thing that I find interesting is the progression, for example, of keynotes, where, I think an entry level keynote has a handheld microphone and is walking around. And the rule generally is, for consistency's sake, is if you're holding it, you would never hold this microphone, but if you're holding a microphone, you would plant it somewhere on your chin. And it's weird to talk this way, but it's consistency. I don't trust people to hold microphones like this, and position it on their under their rib cage, put their arm under their rib cage and this is how you have to talk the whole time. Because then they start doing this number and then they start not thinking, they're really getting into what they're talking about, or then they're doing this and then they do this little number and they talk away from it. And it just doesn't work very well in terms of consistency. And so the technology becomes a distraction to what it is that you're trying to achieve. It doesn't become something that you can rely upon, really. So as you get bigger and as those things kind of progress over time, you have to put people in place or take charge of situations that are holding you back in terms of trying to produce what it is that you're trying to do. A great example, the reason why my title says I'm back in Michigan is because I was down in Tennessee over the weekend. And I work with a group of people that kind of get together and do a weekend production. And they're used to getting together because they're all friends. They're used to getting together and functioning as a congregation. But what they're trying to do is create content that other people can use elsewhere. And so in order to get to that level, we have to have the conversation about what is it that you're trying to do and how does the audience here play a role in that. But then where do you want to go? Where are we going to go with that sort of idea? And so trying to, they bring me in, they have other people that they consult with as to trying to get an idea as to what could this be. And then casting a vision and then doing the things that are involved to get to that goal. Because if you continue, for example, in my example of the microphone, if you continue to use the handheld microphone, you're going to get to a level of professionalism or consistency, but you're going to be limited in many ways. And if you're going for a podcast style or a sit down and chat type of thing, I think that a microphone on screen is not a big deal. It's a part of the actual show. But if you're trying to draw attention to the way that you're presenting something and if it's inviting people to think or to become part of the story or what have you, or place themselves in the story, you need to start removing things that are in the frame that are distracting. And so if you have things on stage that are drawing people's eye away from them, you at least need to have the appropriate camera to pull people away from staring at those things. So things in the background with, lettering and everything's in focus. So one of the issues that we addressed early on in my consultation with these folks down in Nashville was the stage is set beautifully. We have to draw attention to the people that are participating in the weekly production. And so we need to provide context and what the place looks like, totally fine. But when it's time to listen to the content and engage with what's happening, I don't want that stuff to be in focus. I want the speaker to be in focus, right? And so you're drawing the audience into the thing and not letting them kind of veer off into other paths. So same thing here. It's like, well, if I have a microphone that's in front of me, and churches do this, for example, that they have a podium microphone, right? Well, that's great, except now your minister, preacher, song leader, whoever, can't go anywhere but to the podium. And a matter of fact, the culture gets into a place where if they were to go anywhere else, that would be odd for them to veer outside of that podium. And when you're engaging in public speaking in many ways, not exclusively, but in many ways, movement is such a huge deal. Just getting up and holding the edges of the pulpit and talking is really disengages a lot of our visual, non-verbal communication that we use as humans. And so to engage on that level is fundamental in delivering your message. So things that are getting in your way of doing that need to be heavily considered. And I think a microphone, a lav mic, that you can wire up and put on a pack or something that gives your speaker freedom, first of all. I don't have to hold anything, and you're capturing my entire voice. If you're doing interview stuff, like an actual boom mic might be beneficial. Again, you need the appropriate place to use it. Ideal for outside, not necessarily ideal for inside, because you're going to hear a lot of the echoing. And if you're in an interview situation, then I totally think it's appropriate because people expect you to be talking into a microphone. And so if you're interviewing or podcasting or doing anything like that, I think it's easy to consider and appropriate to consider having higher quality microphones that require to be in the frame. So right now I'm using the X-Vive LV2 with the Rode Wireless Go transmitter and receiver. And that microphone is taped. You can go back and check that out. And it's taped with Ursa sticky tape and one of their little fur covers. And that's been working pretty well. I actually am monitoring it in my ear but it's slightly delayed, so it's a little jarring to listen to. The other thing that I bought last week, which we talked about, was a little magnet mount for the lav mic. So you could, for example, rig up the little microphone with more of a permanent sticky back situation, and then you could attach it with a magnet mount to pretty much any article of clothing. Still ideally would like this to be under clothing, unless of course it's a form-fitting shirt or if it's like a woman's blouse or something like that. That's not going to work because you're going to see the wire, you're going to see the mount. So this works well then for just putting it underneath the fabric and then clipping the mount to it, and then you can clip your microphone to it and give it to your talent to go to a change room and actually feed it through their clothes and come out, preferably at the pocket of the pant or somewhere where we could clip it on at the hip or whatever. I did notice the other day I was watching kind of like a behind the scenes of a weather broadcast, and this is a pretty common practice, but it was fun to see it in action, that they used basically like a band that wrapped around the calf muscle of the on-air talent. In this case, it was a woman wearing a dress, but it was like a one-piece dress, so there was nowhere to like hook in the transceiver and everything. So they wrapped her leg with what looked like just like a medical bandage, but like a tight one. And then they clipped the pack on there and they just ran the wire then through her clothing and then just clipped it onto her collar. So I thought that was fascinating because you could basically make a rig and attach it to their ankle or their calf muscle. In this instance, it was attached to the top of the calf muscle. So on a leg, it's kind of a rounded muscle group. And so you would wrap it kind of above it and then to the middle, and then you would attach the pack to the top of the calf muscle so that it's kind of resting a little bit on a slight angle, but it's not going to slide down the person's leg as they're walking around or trying to present. That would be super distracting and awkward. So it looked like it was a pretty tight wrap, but then they had attached the actual transmitter to that, which would totally be doable. I mean, I should totally do that here one day. Is well, like wear a pair of shorts and do that on screen, because that's a cool method to do that, and maybe an option if you have talent that doesn't have pockets or doesn't have a convenient place. But now I always have a clip, like I always have a jean pocket here, so it's no problem for me. But good stuff. All right, rant over. What's going on, Balu? Hopefully you're doing well. Are you checking in? I know you were getting your car worked on today, so are you checking in from there or no? All right. I want to go ahead and run Snacks on Stream because we got some stuff to get through today, and some of this is new, so I have no idea what to expect. But let's have a look.
Don's just making up stuff to start drama.
Look, I don't know.
Look at him.
Wish me luck, folks. It's my first Vegemite experience.
Final, this is like cheese flavor or something. It doesn't really look too appetizing.
Good golly, this is something else, man.
Here's the thing about Pop Rocks, and I don't know if I'm the only one like this. Pop Rocks have always been a social experience for me.
I did not think that is what you were going to say. That's hilarious.
That is awful. Oh, God, that's so bad. Jeez. Holy smokes, man.
Yeah, good times. Good times. Snacks on Stream. We are always doing something different. And today, a couple of options here. We're doing a back-to-back Snacks on Stream. We've got Cheetos Flamin' Hot Smoky Ghost Pepper-Flavored Puffs. That's a mouthful. And then we have a mystery box brought to you by the none other Balu this week. So appreciate it, guys. Thanks for keeping this show interesting, especially because if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be half the my palate clearly wouldn't be as educated as it is today. So appreciate that. Let's get after this and see what we can find out. Got about 7 servings per bag, which equals about 24 pieces or 28 grams, and not a lot of protein. Fair bit of carbohydrates. Don't even look at the sugars. Oh no, less than 1 gram of sugar. Pretty much 0 vitamins. So this food is essentially just processed nothingness, and sounds delicious. Okay, oh boy. Oh, so these are shaped like peppers. Let's, you want to have a look at these? They look like they're going to be a massive mess, is what they look like. I should have brought like a surgeon's glove or something in here, so it wouldn't hurt myself with this. But here we go. I've never had this before, and who knows? Whoops. Sorry, who knows what we're getting into here? Let me make sure. Cut this. This is what I want to do. All right, here we go. Let's see how this goes. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, it's sneaking around down there. not too sure what to make of that. Maybe if I have another one, it won't be so bad. These remind me of something. What is it? Okay. It's going to be hard to talk and eat these at the same time, because they're basically, when you bite into them, they turn into powder, essentially. Man, these remind me of something, like, I've tasted this before. Now, I've never had these, but
They have some heat. Like legit. I've had jalapenos that are less than this. Do we have a enriched cornmeal, vegetable oil, less than 2% of maltodextrin, made from corn, spices, including ghost pepper chilies, potassium salt, citric acid, onion powder, salt, monosodium glutamate, yeast extract, cheddar cheese, milk, cheese clusters, salt, enzymes, tomato powder, sodium something or other, corn syrup, and then artificial color red 40 lake, yellow 6 lake, blue 2 lake, yellow 6 and yellow 5, whey, sugar, natural flavors, including animal ingredients. What? Whey protein concentrate, garlic powder, buttermilk, disodium something, and disodium something else. Contains milk ingredients, by the way. Yeah, I read milk like 4 times in there. Okay, well, where there's smoke, there's fire. Puffs with smoke and heat. They are like, they're not hurtful, but they're not American hot. And you got to be careful because they tend to want to sneak down the wrong tube. Cool. Woo, I'm here. Hey, Angus, how are you? What's going on, Phil? Good to see you again, man. Good afternoon. Ooh, those look tasty. Yes, they are. Surprisingly, there's a lot of them in here. So we found these at a very authentic Mexican-style restaurant, which is over here in Pontiac. I was very impressed with their food. If you're ever in the Auburn Hills, Pontiac area, look up Carnival Market and go to the big one, because it is basically a grocery store with a really great... All right, there it is. I told you talking was going to be hard. Just like what... Yeah, there it goes. Oh. All right, hot coffee. This is a recipe for disaster. Well, it's not hot coffee anymore. Yeah, okay. All right. These are pretty good. I really like them. But the restaurant or the supermarket we got them from is not unfamiliar with spice. So I would never, for example, go into Carnival Market and say, give me something spicy. That seems unwise. It seems like that's not a great idea to do in that location. Because, oh hey, and if you need a chip bag closer, you can use those little alligator things that I like, but only if I have to use one. So, yeah, the Flamin' Hot Smoky Ghost Peppered Puffs, those are great. They are spicy. And I suspected they might be because we got them from a very authentic place. This is... I have no idea what this is. So let's go on over to the trusty dusty Google Translate and find out what it is that we are about to partake in. If I take a photo, and I'll let Google do the translation. It makes the store smell nice. I think it would be cute if Donkey's Baked Sweet Potato became a gem. Developed from that one word, a small... It took 8 months to put the loveliness of a roasted sweet potato into one piece, ... Roasted sweet potato that can be carried around has been created. Feel free to take a bite and have fun. Donkey's Roasted Sweet Potato Gummies. This right here says, the illustration is an image. Donkey's Baked Sweet Potato Gummies. Huh. These are Japanese, which is where Balu has just recently returned from. Feel free to take a bite and have fun. It's always the best when roasted sweet potatoes can be carried around. You should feel free to take a bite. There's the Seinfeld quote, if you're one of us, you'll take a bite. That's what I think of. No matter where you go, there you are. Oh, this is great. Well, Balu, this is definitely a first on the show. We've had a very successful first run with Brayton's Flamin' Hot Smoky Ghost Peppered Flavored Puffs. They don't say ghost peppers, they just say ghost peppered flavored puffs. Okay, so let's cleanse the palate one more time. And how do we do that, everybody? Say it with me. We drink coffee. All right, and then there's a bunch of Japanese on the back of this bag as well, which, if I run out of content, I will also Google Translate. But, yeah. I've also, those things cleared my sinuses, so I can smell these. First of all, this does not look like a sweet potato. It also, however, no matter where you go, there you are. Sorry, that got me. It smells like a sweet potato. And evidently, if I'm not mistaken, according to the package, it took 8 months to put the loveliness of a roasted sweet potato into one piece. This took the company 8 months to make. This. Now, what they don't tell you is they're making these by the bajillions. All right, here we go. Ready? I'm not ready. You know what? You know what? Maybe it's my taste buds that just went through the ghost pepper treatment. But these are not that bad. They're softer than, well, if you had like Lifesaver gummies, I thought I had some of those this morning. Lifesaver, like the gummy ones, those, it's the same consistency as that. They do smell like sweet potatoes, but they smell like sweet potato casserole. They don't smell like raw sweet potatoes, okay? So, lots of sugar, but that's okay. All right, so let's have a little look and see what else we got going on here on the back of this package, because yikes. Name, gummy candy. Raw material, starch syrup, domestic, sugar, gluten, dried sweet potato powder, and then it just says comma, powder. What food group is powder? Okay, and then it says powdered cellulose, brightening agent, gelling agent, pectin, fragrance, I just picture like, anyway, okay, so fragrance, acidulant, coloring agent, red cabbage, safflower yellow, emulsifier, and something extract. Internal volume is 60 grams. The expiration date is, quote, written outside the frame on the upper right side. Oh, okay, there it is. 24/6/30. So what is that, June of next year? Save methods. Please store away from direct sunlight and a place with high temperature and humidity. And then it has the manufacturer in Tokyo. Allergens contained in this product include those equivalent to specified raw materials, gelatin. This product manufacturing factory produces products that contain walnut, wheats, eggs, milk ingredients, almonds, oranges, cashew nuts, kiwi fruit, sesame seeds, soybeans and chickens, bananas and pork, peaches and apples. Wow, what a factory tour that would be. Jeez. 185 calories per bag. Wow, really? That's not bad. Handling precautions. Please consume as soon as possible after opening. At high temperatures, the gelatin may melt and stick to a surface. Depending on the storage temperature, white lumps may form on the surface of the gummies, but since it is a powdered wafer... what? Okay, there is no problem with the quality. Due to the characteristics of the raw materials used, discoloration may occur in rare cases, but this does not affect the quality. Bird Dog John may have discoloration, and it may occur in rare cases, but it does not affect the quality. We make every effort to ensure that our products are safe, but if you have any concerns about our products, you can jump in a lake. No, please contact us at the number below. Well, actually, that Google translated pretty well. And the dramatic reading, I think, really brings it all together. So, well done. Actually, this is pretty good, if I say so myself. And if you're a fan of sweet potatoes and you find yourself in the region of Japan, pick yourself up some donkey sweet potato gummy candies. Oh, it's so weird. We lost viewership. Went from like 14 people registered to 9. It wasn't as riveting as I thought it was. Fair enough. Okay, I have asked my team to verify for you, Mr. Nesbitt, how to control the tally over the API. It does not appear that there's a command that turns off and on the tally light yet. I know I've asked for it in the past. I thought it was done, but it's not. So tally information still has to go over the NDI metadata. And there are programs out there that do that natively. I wonder... Well, anyways, I wonder a lot of things. But I suspect that's coming. If StreamYard OBS or Streamlabs OBS doesn't do that yet, it's probably in the cards because they've been integrating with NDI for quite a while. Now it's open source, so who knows when that will officially happen because they're not obligated to do any of that. But that would be very convenient if they would arrange that somehow. So there you go. So you'll need a program like vMix, which is what I use, or Wirecast, or a TriCaster. But one of those programs sends NDI tally metadata back to the camera, turn on the light. So for example, the P200 is currently being shown, and that is the light that's on, it's red. And if I switch my camera to the P4K, that tally light now turns green because the 200 has been switched to the preview. So not too sure why none of my tally lights are working. I had to manually turn that on, and I don't know if maybe I've had a preference in the past about that. I don't think I did. But let's go to, oh, there's a faster way to do that. Yoink. Cameras, P4K, configure sources. Takes me right to the web UI out of vMix, which is very handy. vMix, well done. That's very convenient of you to add that feature. And then we just go over to it is under onboard tally. It's under the AV setup encode settings, and I'm going to turn that on. Boom. And now P4K is in green. Now, not that I really need the preview tally light, although it's convenient that we can do that. I really want to know what the red one is, and the tally tells us what that is, right? So I got a red tally on the P200, which means that you are looking at that camera in some regard. That tally light also shows up in... Wait, how did that happen? Is the playlist on? Oh, the playlist is on. So the P200 has a red tally light on right now. If I select though screen 5 or output 5, which is my desktop, the tally light stays on because the P200 image is still being shown in vMix up here in the top corner. And so I know that that camera is on. If I talk to that camera, I'll be looking into, looking back at you basically if I do that. But it also includes my desktop, which, hey, there's the little heat map that you guys have been filling out for me. I really appreciate that. Here's that QR code if you'd like to participate in this. Basically, it's just a 2-question survey that says, what country are you in and what's the closest city? And if you hit submit, your pin will appear on this map. So do a little heat map experiment every time we go live, and it's fun to just kind of see where everybody is. So it is the tally information then is coming out of vMix and is going to the camera. So if I load, for example, the P4K, which is in preview 3, the green lights on the P4K turn on. And then if I cut over from P200, which P200 and desktop, over to P4K, those lights then turn red, and the P200's lights turn green. So it kind of follows around, and you kind of, if you had somebody producing the show and they were loading the next camera in the preview window and the tally information was going back to those cameras, they would know I'm going from P4K to P200 in just a minute, and it's 3, 2, 1, and then you would transition to this camera because you know that's the one that you're on. So tally information is very convenient, to say the least, but you have to enable it on the cameras. Now, the same thing with the P110. So I've got this camera, but the tally light, the Mohawk light, is not on. So we're going to go back into vMix. We right-click on that source, okay, P110. We go up to Configure Source, which is at the top of that list. And then I'm going to go to AV Setup. I'm going to log in with my password. And then I'm going to say Onboard Tally On. And now the Mohawk light is red. So that's convenient. We hit Apply. We go back to the dashboard. I can actually just close these out now. It's very handy that vMix does that for us. And then into back to StreamYard. So then I can call the show from here, red tally light on there, and green back on the P4K. So if I cut between the two, P4K. Now, this is why I wish vMix playlists would load them as if you had a production switcher. Whoops, I don't know why that's on. Would load your... So when I use a playlist, okay, so like if I go to P4K and I hit playlist button on, it starts with the P200. And it goes through P200, P110, P200, P4K, P200 full grid, and then back to the beginning of the list. And so, and full grid looks like, where are you? Oh, did I get rid of it? Outputs, there it is. So full grid looks like this, but it just goes through that list and shows each of the cameras. Well, what I want to see is when I turn on playlist on, and I'm cycling through these cameras, I just want a checkbox that says load next camera in preview. Because the next camera then is camera 2, and so that would be my P110. And so when the playlist goes through, it takes like a minute and a half on the P200, but when it switches I would want my next camera that's coming up to go into preview, right? As if the show is being actually produced and video switched. So I haven't submitted that feature request, but I know lots of people use it in that function. So you would think that that function might be coming. Maybe it is, and I just haven't seen it. But it says manual mode, clear overlays, begin from selected item, and loop. Those are the options inside a playlist. So we're still on P200, waiting for that first camera to change. And given the tempo of my show, I find that somewhere between 25, hey, there we are, red tally light on P110. I find that the tempo of my show adheres to about a 20 or 25 second, 25 or 30 second, switching to a B camera for about that amount of time. And what I tend to do, what I've decided, just myself, whether or not it's the right call or not, is that I continue to talk into the P200 so that whatever camera it goes to, and the next one will be the P4K, whatever camera it goes to, I'm just continuing to talk here, and it gives you context. So that last shot, I don't then pivot and talk to this camera, but I just go here. But the next camera up to bat is the P4K, and right now in the preview it's showing me the P110. So if I were to sit somebody down in my studio and say, all you have to do is talk into the camera that's red, well, then they would think the P110's coming up next, and so they would be prepping for, all right, I'm going over to that camera in a minute. But instead, it's going to switch to the P4K because it puts the previous camera into the preview window in vMix. And there's no way to tell it, look at the playlist for the next camera and put that one in preview. I don't know of a way. If you know of a way to do that, or if you know of how to get a custom script or something to do that, let me know, because I would really like to know how to do that. That would be great. It sounds like to me a central control flex macro pro. Oh, there's an idea. Listen to you, Guy Angus. That's an interesting idea. Hello from Warsaw, Poland. What's going on, iPhone? Good to see you again. Welcome back. Always fun to have you here. Hey, good news. I didn't know that I had to turn on the tally light in the GUI. It works as it is supposed to with Streamlabs. Very cool. So they did that since I stopped using Streamlabs a long time ago. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that works. That's good information for me to know. Now the P4K is now red, and the 200, which is next but was before, is green, right? So it's showing me the camera that was before. I just want it flipped. I want to reference the playlist and tell me what the next camera is, and then that would trigger the tally light. That would be ideal. Ideal. Now the P4K is green, but I know that's not the next camera. So central, let me think here. Whoops. Let me think here. All right, I'm going to have to remote into the computer that I have central set up on, but we can maybe navigate that together. Hopefully it doesn't kill my stream. All right, so I'll put this over here. Whoops. Oh, crap. Dang it. I just closed it by accident. So let's go over to number 5. I'm going to turn the playlist off. And we're just going to load this guy up. And I'm going to put in my super secret password. And this is my old vMix machine, actually, that I used to use. But on here, it's got, where is it? Yoink. Central control. So what did you say, Angus? You said, hey, this sounds like a central control flex macro problem. Central control. So the first question I have is vMix in here? Generic vMix, Studio vMix. Yeah, I think I knew this actually. Remote playlist viewer. Provides a way to remotely view vMix playlist inputs. Interface with vMix. I think I already have this, don't I? NDI clocks? No, I guess I don't. I thought I already did this. I have not interfaced with many vMix MIDI controllers. All right, so if we say OK, and we say OK. Now the vmix IP address is going to be 1102. Whoopsie. Oh no. Cancel that. Crap. I didn't notice what that was. Let's kill this. Are you sure? Add a device. vmix. 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 Oh boy. Okay. Whoa. Yeah, there's a lot in here. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot in here. Okay, so I need to fumble through some of this and figure out what it is that we can do with that. I'd also be interested to know what does the remote player do? Viewer port? Yoink. There's no buttons here. I don't know what that does. Okay. And then what's the other one that's in here? Generic vMix MIDI controller. Control. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so we can do something with that. Yeah, let me think about that. Because it's another layer of integration that I would need to figure out. But again, one day I'm hoping vMix can do this themselves, but until that day, we'll have to figure out a way to automate it. That's pretty cool.
That's pretty neat.
All right, let's go back just briefly to our little heat map. Oh, look at you guys filling out. Wow, it's a North American crowd today. I know Phil was here, so that's one guy over in Europe. But yeah, hopefully you guys are doing well. And one guy in Warsaw, Poland. So I know that we have some guys over across the pond. If you want to play along, just scan that little QR code on a phone or an iPad or something. Take you to a 2-question survey, basically. What country and what city are you closest to? And it'll put a pin roughly in your vicinity. And that's all we want to know. That's all we want to find out. We're not interested in anything else. But just where are you watching from? Always fun to see people around the world hanging out with us and what it is that they're doing. So good times. Good times, great oldies. Now, I know that my schedule is booked today and tomorrow. I need to look at my calendar. Yours really trustworthy. Okay, so I have a 1 o'clock, which I need to prep for. A 2 o'clock. I've got a 4 o'clock and a 4:30 and a 5:15. So yeah, it'll be a busy meetings day. That's for sure. Hey, oh, there you are. Welcome. Thanks for putting your pin down on the map. Really appreciate that. Okay, well, it's 12:20. Hopefully we've had some fun here today, that's for sure. And I've mounted my little lav mic to my person, and seems to be okay. I should watch the show here, I guess, to follow up. The issue with having a lav mic is that you hear everything. And so I will put this... oh, this is not live, that's for sure. It was 20 minutes ago. So you pick up a lot more like the ambient sound, like my chair is not quiet. And so, yeah, the chair is not quiet and it picks up that sound. And when I'm listening to my phone, you'll be able to hear that as well, right? So that's an interesting kind of like development here. But I don't hate it. And I think that there is a time and a place for many style microphones. I know that a lot of, to kind of finish this whole thought here, I know that a lot of institutions, a lot of theaters, lecture halls, churches, they've all gone to like Countryman over the ear. Although I understand why, I think it's okay, but it really trades on quality of voice, or at least, so I've had a hard time getting them to sound natural in rooms that are, poorly designed, we'll say. So I think Countryman's work really well in rooms that are tuned for specific that sort of purpose. But when you have like more of a multi-purpose style room, then it doesn't work as well, and you need something that's maybe a little bit more versatile. So it sounds much better than the NTG2. Not at all objectionable. Well, that's good. I have mounted this a little bit differently. So the other day I was using a little magnet mount, which seemed to work pretty well. But today I've used an Ursa tape, and one of those little fuzzy balls from Ursa, and mashed them together basically, and then stuck it on my person. So I think that because it's actually like on my skin, it's picking up more of the resonance of my voice than it was when it was just clipped onto my, like behind my sweater. So I wonder if if it's not objectionable. That's fantastic. It's nice to hear. But yeah, we definitely mounted a little bit differently, and I like it. Now I'll need to put headphones on and listen to it tonight. But, as a backup option, it seems to work pretty well. So, yeah, I don't mind. Of course, nothing is quite the same as the RE20, but that has a totally different function altogether. I do like if I were to present, for example, I would like to not have a microphone in front of me. I'd like it to be nice and, unobstructed, we'll say. And I like that idea for when you're producing content. I don't care for even churches. I don't care for them having the microphone all wired up. If you're going to do a Countryman, I would much rather see more headsets than over the ears, because the headset will help keep it like locked in place, and so that when you move around, it won't constantly like work off of your ear. I've got a couple of friends that are ministers, and they are constantly fixing their microphone. And it's fine in a live environment, but when you're recording it and you're constantly touching your microphone, that's not good. So, and actually I think they do that more unconsciously than they do consciously. They certainly don't do it on purpose, because if we've told them, hey, it's not great for the recording, they wouldn't do it, but they're doing it and speaking and kind of going through the motions, and then definitely fixing it without thinking that rustling is going to come through on the recording. So I have one minister who I end up just taping behind his ear. So I take a little piece of medical tape and I tape down the Countryman behind his ear, and then he can move around and it won't, the actual string or the wire doesn't pull it out of position. But I have another guy that just cannot have tape on his skin, and so we try and alligator clip him and everything, but yeah, sometimes that doesn't happen. So we really got to get into a routine of like, when you arrive, we do this, we do this, we do this, and then we do this and we do this, and then we're ready to go. So getting processes in place will really help things go smoothly, I think. Sounds great. Nice full sound. Well, I'm glad to hear it. So it makes me wonder then, if that's how you guys are feeling, then it makes me wonder about the little alligator clips that came with it. Because I had this alligator clip, and I can show you this as the overhead. So it's a little hard to see because it's not super big. But see, that alligator clip has that tiny wire, that little wire holder. So the X5 II came with that, and you can push the wire down in there and it holds it very still, but it doesn't protect it at all. You know, and you can put a windscreen on it, but then it defeats the purpose of it being so small. And I really like this because it's protected against my clothing, but it's also, you know, doing a pretty good job of picking up. Let me just listen. Because it's protected against my clothing, but it's also... Yeah, so it's definitely protected, but also then picking up more of my full range. For a lav mic, I feel like that's pretty good. So that's cool stuff. Okay, well, one more time, let's head on over to the trusty dusty heat map. Appreciate you all checking in today. That's always been fun. We always have a little game that we play where you fill out the two question survey, and it puts a pin on the map for you, and then we can see where you're hailing from. But it's always a pleasure to have you guys along, and we are on to almost 12:30, so we will wrap it up and say our goodbyes, at least for today. So Tuesday, I'm back in town. I was away for the weekend. Did not obstruct this show at all, but we're moving along here. There's lots of work to do, and my team is, I full-heartedly say, I think the best support team in the business, because they regularly go above and beyond, but this is not your typical support department. So you will notice that we have actually shuffled some people around when it comes to how it is that we're kind of servicing things. So we have shuffled some resources internally in my department around so that we can handle things a little bit better. But one of the pieces that we have to trade off on is the ticketing agents and how tickets get distributed and what the expectation should be. Now, we've increased the wait time on tickets in preparation for the day where there's just so many tickets we can't get to them every day. That day is not today. And so if you have opened a ticket recently at the beloved email address, say it with me now, help@birddog.tv, and you've noticed that initial email response back now says 5-day response instead of 2-day response, that's not literal, all right? We will do our best to get back to you as soon as we are available. But what's happened is we've moved an agent out of ticketing and into more of a behind-the-scenes type of guy who can help us get answers on complex tickets. Before, we didn't have anybody helping in that regard in our office, okay? We had resources in Melbourne, but they're asleep right now. So we moved a guy over to do that and put all of the tickets now back on just a couple of agents. There was 3 of them, and now there's a team of 2. That is their primary function every day. So we're not there yet where we have a wait list, okay? When you submit a ticket, it gets assigned kind of automatically through my system to an agent. And their job is to try and get through as many as they possibly can. And so that's what they work on all the time, and we are not even at the threshold of those tickets yet. So don't let that scare you if you see that change and think, oh my goodness, it's going to take them a week to get back to me. No, it's not going to take a week to get back to you. It is there because in the event that one day we are going to have a flood of tickets and launching new products or new firmware or something like that, where there's no announcement, by the way, but something like that, we want to be giving realistic expectations. Now, if you submit a ticket, here's my theory. You tell me if I'm crazy. Wait for my theory, though. So here's the idea. If you submit a ticket and somebody tells you, hey, I'm going to respond to you in 3.5 days, you think, wow, that's a long time. And then they get back to you in like 6 hours. How do you feel? You probably feel pretty good, maybe neutral. Maybe it's like, okay, cool, they got back to me quicker than I thought. If I told you, hey, I'm going to get back to you in 3.5 hours, and it took me 2 days, how are you going to feel? You're probably going to feel like, hey, you should adjust your expectations here, right? It's very much so that. We're trying to manage a global expectation as to when we're available, when we can get back to them. For example, one of my ticketing agents was out sick yesterday, and so things slow down. Well, we have to give realistic expectations as to when we're going to actually get back to folks. And so the philosophy is, let's under-promise and over-deliver, always. So we're going to tell you 5 days. We're going to work as hard as we possibly can to get back to you as soon as we can. It's probably not going to take us 5 days. If it was taking us 5 days to respond to new tickets, we would be restructuring our organization. So there's no way that in actuality that would be the case. More than likely, it will be somewhere between 24 and 48 hours. And in many cases, it's under that. So it's within the day or within 24 hours. So that is kind of our overall goal. Remember that we handle an entire global market. We're not a North American office. We're not a European office. We're not an Australian office. We are here in Michigan, but serving the world in all bird dog support. So that's how that works. And that is the most recent change to the way that we're operating. Happy to go into my philosophy about how that works, because I want to be open and honest about what it is that we're working on. And so that's kind of how we can do that here at Support. So with all that, I'm going to get back to work. So this has kind of been work, but it's kind of fun too. And I got to have some delicious snacks on streams brought to you by the none other Balu and Bird Dog Brayton. Thank you guys. Those were great. These are going to pass around the office to anybody who dares. I'll probably eat a few more because they're pretty good. But I'll pass them around and see if anybody wants to go with that. But a couple of snacks on the stream. Those were unique. And we talked microphones and we talked about a whole bunch of stuff today. Really happy that you have decided to join me for a little bit. If you wouldn't mind, and if you haven't done so already, jump over to birddogjohn.tv, and that is just where I have a show twice a week that if you scan that QR code, you can get directly there. I have a show twice a week, 11 to 12 usually, or a little bit later, Eastern time right here in the U.S., birddogjohn.tv, and that is where I hang out and kind of give free advice. So feel free to pick my brain twice a week if you don't want to submit a help desk ticket. No problem. I'm here, and I can definitely give you a hand. And you could ask me NDI-based questions on the videos post-live. So if you watch these after the fact, and I don't think there's a ton of people that do, but if you do and you post a comment, I see those comments. And if I think that question is worth bringing up in the show, I will. And if I think that question is worth having a show about, I'll definitely do that as well. So we've talked about cam control in the past, multi-viewer. We talked about NDI workflow. I need to really do a halfway decent deep dive into control, central control. I need to do a better, I'm always diving into vMix and trying to make that better. And so, yeah, I'm here to definitely try and discover it with you. That's always fun to do. And I really appreciate you guys coming along for the ride. Okay, well, there's our heat map. There's our check-ins. So that's it for this week, and we'll do that again on Thursday. The plan is to be back with you on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time right here in the U.S., and so don't miss another show. Head on over to birddogjohn.tv and subscribe to that channel. What that does is I can tell my bosses, hey, look, people are following along, and I've had more followers there than I've ever had in my life. And so thank you for the 369 or 68 people that are subscribed to that channel. It doesn't seem like a big deal in the YouTube world, but hey, it's a big deal when you have a very specific support show that you're doing. 360 plus people that are tuning in to hear about this sort of stuff is flattering. And so feel free to join us twice a week, and know that you have this as a free resource. As Bird Dog, if you've purchased a Bird Dog product, by all means, come on over and ask your questions. I'm happy to give you a hand if I can. And if I don't know, I can create a ticket for you here. I can do whatever we need to do to try and get you a solution. So bring your NDI questions. If you don't like submitting tickets, feel free to ask them here on the show. Your question is probably not the unique question in terms, somebody else might be thinking about that. And so it could always be helpful to find out what everybody else is doing. And that happens all the time on the show, where you guys learn from each other and I learn from you. And maybe I have something to say as well. So we try and be mutually beneficial. All right, guys. Well, it is always a pleasure. I love hanging out with you guys, and hopefully you're looking to have a good week, and we will plan to be together again near the end on Thursday, which makes that happy daylight savings time to those of us over here on this side of the pond. That makes it November the 9th. I'll be back with you to endure another hour of NDI banter, potentially snacks on stream, and whatever else we got cooking over here. So take care of yourselves. Be well. Look after each other. yeah, that's a bigger deal than I make it out to be. But yeah, take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you guys in just a couple of days on Thursday at 11 o'clock Eastern Time, right here, birddogjohn.tv. Take it easy. Bye.
I got a fever. And the only prescription is more cowbell.